Hello, beautiful souls. Today's episode is so good. And before we jump in, I have some exciting news to share. If you've ever wondered where you're blocking money, this is for you. I've created a free quiz to diagnose your money wounds so you can heal them and unblock yourself to receive more money. Just go to moneywoundsquiz.com and answer 6 quick questions to get your insanely accurate and potent results. And if you're loving my vibe and want to work one-on-one to call in more feminine energy wealth, I would love to hear from you. You can shoot me a DM on social media or go to emilywilcox.com to learn more. Hello, welcome back to the I Make Money show. Hope you guys had a great Easter. If you celebrate, I have been in such a creative vortex. I am like a little kid who is trying so hard not to spill the secrets everywhere. There's so much incredible stuff that is going to be coming soon into the M Makes Money world. So stay tuned. You guys will, of course, be some of the first to know. And I just am giddy. I'm absolutely giddy. But since I don't want to be too much of a tease and I can't say anything yet, I will say that you guys are going to love this interview today with Tania Vasallo. Tania is an entrepreneur, a mother, an international speaker, and she discovered that her purpose and her dream was to support ambitious and motivated, successful women to learn how to make, keep, and grow their money, and just create a life of freedom and happiness. She's had an unconventional path to get there and just has such an infectious enthusiasm. So without further ado, check it out. Hello, and welcome back to the M Makes Money show. I am here with Tania Vasallo. We have an incredible interview planned for you. Tania, thank you so much. Welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be here, Emily, and continue and have conversations about money.
I know. I was just on your podcast, so I feel like we're already besties. And I really get a sense from you that we have a very similar mission of, female empowerment, financial freedom, and really life first living. Would you agree with that?
I love it. Yes. And the more women we have out there promoting this message and empowering and helping other women feel confident and just financially empowered and healing their relationship with money, I'm all for that. So yes, I'm all with you, Emily. I'm so
Amen.
Glad that our paths crossed.
Me too. And I feel like you have this drive and passion that kind of infiltrates everything you do. Like you just started this podcast and you're like, already I have this mission now to empower women in podcasting. And I'm going to put together services so that, more women get access to these platforms and that they rank higher in the podcast ratings. And I just think it's so cool that you just follow that passion wherever it leads.
That's so funny that you say that because that's how I landed with the money mindset aspect of it. I do feel, and I think that's why we kind of like aligned in our energy. It's just that type of personality where you're just curious and you want to explore and you want to try things and you're just courageous and like, let me try it. Let me do it messy. Let me see what happens. Let me see what shows up from it. Because that's the sense I got when you and I had our conversation when you were on my podcast. So yes, thank you for pointing that out because I do feel like I lead with passion and curiosity. I guess the curiosity goes before the passion. Yeah.
100%. Passion's like the number one word that comes to mind with you. I'm actually just so curious if you know what your human design is.
Yes. And it's so funny that you asked that because I've been hearing human design for like the last 2 years, but I never really knew where to look into it or if to have a reading with someone. And I finally, one of my mentors mentioned a particular app and I'll look it up on the phone. I can't remember, but and everyone that I kept hearing was manifesting generator. So I was like, oh, I must be a manifesting generator, like the majority of the people, but I'm not, I'm a projector. Are you I'm just starting to learn about that particular.
Yeah. Well, I know that's the thing with human design is like, and probably people listening are laughing and nodding their heads because if you try to figure it out yourself, you end up with this graph and you're like, I have no idea what the F this thing is. Like, it's so complex. So you really do need like an app, or in my case, I paid for like a series of readings so that someone could interpret it for me and really help me to go deep with it. Not only for myself, but of course I wanted to know like my husband and my kids, because why not?
I did too. So what are you? I'm curious now.
I'm a manifesting generator.
See, I thought I was going to fall in that category like everyone else that I align with. And then I'm like, oh, I'm a projector. Like I was kind of let down, like I was looking, my husband's a manifesting generator and my daughter, look at this. She is exactly like almost all the features that I had on this app, because I haven't had anyone do a reading for me. I'd like to do that, but hers was, she's also a projector, and almost every other feature within that, we were exactly the same, which gave me such understanding, because understanding of her, but also an opportunity of just saying, wow, like I wish I would have, like my parents would have known of this back in the day, and that they could have maybe guided me. But anyway, I'm not going to get deviated with a human design.
I know we could go down a huge rabbit hole with that, but I think it is common for projectors to have an initial reaction of like, I'm definitely a generator. I'm definitely a manifesting generator, because that's how we're conditioned. Like that's 70% of the planet. But and with my clients, I always weave in human design, and I have projector clients where it really is getting them back into this guide role, because you can see things that are so obvious and intuitive to you, and you know how to do things so efficiently. So you're really meant to guide the people that have like unlimited fountains of energy. And not that you don't, like, clearly you're a very energetic person, but it's like, you're meant to be the one kind of calling the shots and pulling the puppet strings more than doing it all yourself.
Yeah. And that's funny that you say that, because one of the features that it said for projectors, like you need to slow down. And when you need to energize yourself, hang out with manifesting generators. I thought that was so funny. Or go to a cafe. The other thing it said, like, go to a coffee shop and just hang out, and you'll like feed yourself of that energy. So maybe next time I'm feeling like a little bit like I need low on energy, I'll call you up and be like, Emily, give me some energy.
We can hang out. Exactly. You'll absorb all the sacral battery, but anyhow, we digress. Okay. So I'm curious, tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial story. Like, did you always know you were going to work for yourself?
No, not at all. I started my career in corporate America, and I worked in advertising as an art director in New York City for these multi-million-dollar, corporations like Starbucks, Samsung, AT&T, Nabisco. So we do all their campaigns for them, TV shoots and photo shoots. And it was very glamorous, and it was really well paid. And, you're in your 20s and you're managing, a whole TV shoot with hundreds of people on it and stuff. So it gave me a lot of great things, and it looked very glamorous from the outside in, but from the inside out, I just felt like this is not me, like I need freedom. I'm, like you said, I'm multi-passionate. And so I always have my curiosity leading me. At that time, I was studying to be a life coach. There was like no life coaches back in the day. This was like in the early 2000s. And then I wanted to study to be a professional photographer. And I have every degree and certification in the self-development world that you can imagine. I mean, you name it, I've done it. I've been certified with Louise Hay, with Jack Canfield, with Landmark Education. I mean, the list goes on. But I was lacking that freedom that corporate didn't give me, even though this job, there was a lot of freedom within the job. But back, I don't even know when that was, 2005, I think, end of 2005, 2006, I decided I wanted to quit my job. And the universe had different plans, because my husband, who was also an art director at the time, they were given the option to either have to leave their job or move to Detroit to work. And so we both knew we weren't going to Detroit. So we both quit our jobs in New York City and we went on to study photography, so we'd be more focused. And then after that, the question was, well, what do we do now? And I wanted that freedom. So I was like, I don't think I want to work for anyone. I think I just want to be a freelancer. So I never even considered the word entrepreneur at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved back to Spain, where I'm from originally, and we started our own little agency. We offer all kinds of creative services, from branding, advertising, marketing, graphic design. And so I guess you'd say that would be the beginning, even though I didn't really consider myself an entrepreneur. And we ran that studio 4 years in Spain, and I think 3 years here in the States. And now in hindsight, I look back and I'm like, it was a disaster. It was a disaster. First off, I don't know how many of your listeners, if you're listening, running a business with your spouse is not the easiest thing. They should do a course about this. Or I'm sure there's courses out there, but we never knew. And both of us, two creatives without any business training, trying to run a business, I don't know. It made no sense. I mean, we really were in this feast or famine type of game.
Mm-hmm.
Some months were amazing. We landed a client and we're like, yes, this will hold us off. That was awesome. And then you'd go into 2 months into the famine of like your savings is just dwindling. And you're like, oh my God, we're going to have to go get a job or whatever. And it wasn't until we came back to the States and we ran the studio here for several years. And then my husband said, I don't think I want to run the studio anymore. I think I just want to focus on my art. And I said, awesome. I think that's great for him. And the fact that we weren't going to run it together anymore, because I knew that there was something bigger for me and I wanted to do it on my own, but I just didn't know what, because of that multi-passion, like this, it's like, I get excited about one new thing and I go down that path and I want to explore it and I want to do great with it. So I ended up launching my business. There was a lot of soul searching, but I ended up launching The Courage to Be Happy. And how that happened, it's interesting because at that time, I had a little one that was only 18 months old and I was in this soul searching. My husband was clear. He wanted to do his art, but I was like, do I go back to art direction, doing freelance? Do I do coaching? And my sister invited me to a 3-day sales event. And I think you could appreciate this, Emily, because I know your background has been in sales. My sister's like, oh, come to this 3-day sales event in San Diego. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to puke. Are you kidding me? I don't want to hang out with salespeople. Like, my vision of salespeople was people dressed up in ties and suits and super serious. Here I am. I'm a creative. I'm a free spirit. But on the other hand, she kept insisting. She's like, it's in San Diego. The hotel, all you have to do is pay for your flight and half of the hotel room with me, because the event I've already paid for. You're my guest. I was like, oh, I'm a new mom to an 18-month-old. I'm like, worst that can happen is I don't like this and I get to hang out at the pool for 3 days, so I'm going. And wow, it blew my mind. I would say that was the beginning of entrepreneurship for me, because all these veils got lifted up. I met such amazing people. And we weren't making that much money with the business, like, if we hit like a $35,000, $40,000 a year, we were like, yeah, man, we're doing it. And here I am at this event listening to people like the guest panel, and they're talking about their businesses, 6 figures, multi-6 figures, 7 figures. And I'm like, wow, do people really make that much money? Like it really opened up my eyes. And on top of that, the people were cool, they were all dressed up in suits and ties or whatever. But anyway, at the end of the event, the facilitator, the host, made an offer to join her mastermind. And it was an expensive mastermind. At least, it was a $20,000 mastermind. And my jaw just dropped. But at the same time, I felt those butterflies in my stomach and that calling of like, the saying, when the teacher's ready, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. That's exactly what I felt. And so I was like, oh my God, I know I have to do this. This is what I need. The universe is sending it to me, but how the hell am I going to pay for this? Like that, I just couldn't conceive. The most I'd ever spent on a course was maybe, I want to say $3,000. And it was like a week long, certification type of thing. But anyway, I paid the deposit. I did it. And what that does when you invest at that type of level is I was fully committed to learning everything business and everything sales and everything marketing. And that year that I was part of that group, and it was a game changer. It was like I look at it now as it was my MBA. Instead of spending $100,000 or $200,000 to do an MBA in Harvard, I chose to do it with this particular teacher. And it was a game changer. Like everything changed for me. Like I was able to start selling my services for, much higher price point, owning my value of like, no, what I'm providing is worth this amount of money. It was just amazing. Everything changed by the 4th year in business. And I could only work 20 hours a week because my daughter was young. And I was not on social media. I was off social media for 4 years. I'm like, I say that in a way, a little bit shameful, but in another way, kind of proud. Like, damn, I made it through, growing a business to 6-figure revenue without, social media and only 20 hours a week. Working 20 hours a week. So that was a huge milestone. And I really do. I mean, I surrounded myself with other teachers and mentors moving forward, but that was the beginning of entrepreneurship. And that was a long story, but I thought it was important to share.
No, I love that so much. And I've definitely like had some of those same like pivotal moments where I'm like, oh, okay, I just need to be in the room with people like this. And this is how much it costs to do that. Well, okay, I guess I will. And so I'm so curious. Was the business the same? Was it the courage to be happy was what you started at that time?
That's what I started at that point. So the courage to be happy started at that point. And it was, the business model was based on live events. And I hit that 6-figure revenue in December, at the end of 2019. And so I was like, yes, I cracked the code. This is awesome. Look how awesome
How
I am.
did you promote live events without social media?
I went to so many networking events here locally. I want to say that my events, 80% of the people were locals here in New Mexico and Santa Fe, mostly Santa Fe and Albuquerque, I'd say. And then I'd make them an offer to join my year-long program. And so that's how it worked that way. Then fast forward to 2020, 2021, like many of us.
All of a sudden, live events weren't a thing.
Yes, it was like the slap in the face, but there's always a gift in everything. Like I don't like looking at things as failures or whatever, even though I did have my own pity party, 2020, 2021. But in 21, we did our first online 3-day event. And what had opened up my mind, and it's still at that point, I wasn't doing social media or very little. Like I kept, it was like this love-hate relationship with social media. It's like, I'd try and get in and then I'd just fall off the wagon. Like I just couldn't deal with it. But 2021, we did our first live online event. And what it opened up is instead of having just the locals, I had women from all over the world, all over the US, Canada, Colombia, Spain, England. And so the message that I received was, Tania, you need to expand. Like you can't no longer stay local. Like we need to get your message out there to a lot more women globally, especially being bicultural. Like I'm born and raised in Spain. And so I was like, okay, I got the message. So 2022, was like starting from scratch again. It's like, damn, I don't know if I want to focus on live events. I love live events. Don't get me wrong. You give me a stage, I'll stand up there. I love speaking, in public. I love hosting live retreats. I love seeing the transformation in people, from day 1 to day 3. It's a different energy. I do have to say it's a different energy than hosting an online event. But what became clear for me, because I'd been so far away from my family for 3 years, that on 2021 summer and 2022, I finally fulfilled a dream that I had, which was to spend at least 4 weeks in Spain in the summertime so that my daughter can start connecting with her roots and her Spanish background. And so I can be with my family. And so I was like, I could still go back to live events, but why not do, more of a freedom lifestyle where I can just like start the business again. Same message, some variations, because I've been curious and passionate about money mindset along the way. But let's do an online business model. So I just started my online business last year, and it's forced me to get back onto social media, but I had to be really strategic about it. Again, you have limited amount of time. I can't pull more than 20 hours a week, working. So it's now you have different knowledge, and I'm hoping that this business reaches a 6-figure. Last one was in 4 years. Hopefully this one I have a feeling that it'll be by the end of this year. So it'll be in 2 years. We'll cut down the amount of time. So
yes, I love that. And I love like how real and open you are with your timeline, because I feel like, growing a business from scratch to 6 figures in 4 years, it is something to be excited about. And yet in the online space, it feels like some people are doing it in like 4 minutes. And and so then the people who have been quietly building it behind the scenes then feel like they can't talk about like how quote unquote long it took.
But guess what? Like, you started the whole thing. I'm a projector. It says slow is your speed, so things take the time that they need to take for me. Like my circumstances are very different than maybe someone that grew an online business in 4 minutes, that doesn't have kids, that maybe is single, that can dedicate 80 hours a week. I wish I could dedicate 80 hours a week like I used to in corporate to my own business instead of giving it to someone else. But I also want to enjoy the years, with my daughter. I want to have family time and connection with my husband. I want to travel. Like, you have to really put things into perspective of like, what are those things that you want and how, and for some of us, it takes longer. And for some of us, it takes shorter. And the reason why I think it's going to shorten that time frame now is because I have more knowledge than I did back then. For sure. I did that, and back then, it took me 4 years longer than maybe some other people that have done it in a year, or maybe have reached a 7-figure in 2 years. Awesome for them. I want to learn from them, especially from women. Like, it's like, how did you do it? Other women that are moms, and because we want to support each other. And but here, that's part of the dangers of social media too, because we start comparing ourselves with other people's successes, and their success, they might be in chapter 12, and you're only in chapter 2, and you're comparing your chapter 2 to their chapter 12. And then you're beating yourself up at how slow your business is taking to grow and everything else. And I have to be honest with it. Like, yes, I wish I could go back to making the money that I was making pre-COVID, but I'm not there yet. Will I get there? Yes, I am confident that I'll get there and I will surpass it because I'm gathering a lot more, but I'm not there yet. Like, I feel like I'm starting from scratch again. And it's like, really, that we have to do this again, but it's okay because I know it's leading to something bigger. So it's totally.
Absolutely. And, you said like, I know more now, which yes, is completely true, but also you have a bigger network and you have a bigger audience now. Like, even though you were building them off of social media, it's like, well, they're still humans and they still know people and they still have buying power, and you can still connect with them so many different ways. They probably are all also on social media. And I think that's another case where sometimes we compare, our chapter 2 to somebody else's chapter 12 is like audience building. When I really look at the people who seem to take off inside of different programs and such that I was in, it's like, oh, they already had a 2,000 person
List.
low ticket membership. And then they just offered high ticket coaching. And it's like, yeah, that's going to be really different than starting from absolute scratch.
Yeah, I so agree with that. It's such a great point, Emily, because I think that's why I started with high ticket, because I knew I didn't want to do social media. And I also knew that you needed a big list, that it really is all a numbers thing. Like I saw a lot of entrepreneurs when I was starting out, like from that mastermind group that I was in, that they were all shying away from wanting to have the sales conversation and be, and having the courage and putting themselves out there and making a high ticket offer because of lack of confidence. And so it was easier to say, oh, I'm just going to do online. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, but you don't have even 1,000 people on your list, because that takes time to build too. And if you do the numbers, the conversion rate of 1,000 people, because it's easier to make an offer via email or make an offer just putting it on a website, but the conversion rate is going to be much smaller, because you really have to look at numbers. So I think I just kind of had the vision with that. I was like, I'm not going to be able to sell. And then on top of that, when you don't sell, you start blaming yourself and taking it all personal. Like, oh, what did I do wrong? Like, why didn't I not, like I made a launch and no one signed up. And it's like, well, how many people are on your list? How many face-to-face conversations that you have? How many, in-person conversations that you have? So yeah, business is it's such an interesting subject to learn about business and sales and all that, especially because that wasn't my choice. Like I kind of fell into it by default, but because I wouldn't have chosen to want to learn about business, but I've gotten curious about it, because many of us, we just want to hone and learn more about our craft. Yeah. But not have to learn about business or marketing. Like that's what's the deal with.
I know. I'm so curious when you were talking about like having certifications out the wazoo, doing all of those different trainings and stuff. How much of that for you is like a thirst of knowledge thing versus wanting to feel, I don't know, validated, like worthy, or like now I can charge for this because I've been certified in it?
That is an interesting question. I definitely think women in general, so this is a generalization, and I can put myself in that pot. We have gone for a lot of certifications to kind of validate and prove our worth because of patriarchy and because of the way the systems have been set up. You know, it's like, it's just, that's how it's been done. On top of that, being born and raised in a patriarchal country at the end of a dictatorship in a patriarchal family, because my dad's 7 brothers and 1 sister.
Oh my gosh.
It just forced me. And one of our big limiting money beliefs is you have to work hard for money. We wear that with a badge of honor, everyone in our family. So I do feel like some of those things, like trying to get the straight A's, trying to get certain degrees earlier on in my career, like maybe even like the art direction, like, oh, you get to say that I worked as an art director in New York City for Starbucks, for Samsung. Like that looks very good, and I know for like my dad, my parents, they struggle because both of their daughters, me and my sister studied architecture, which is a really hard degree to get in Spain. And on top of that, worked with top architects in the world. She went to Columbia University. Like, I think we were both striving for that because, again, it's that proof of like, look how valid we are. But I believe that was earlier on in our careers. The more you start doing, thankfully, I did all this self-development and all these certifications. So it comes back to you in a way that it's like, I don't need that anymore. So now I'd say maybe in the last couple of decades, it's been more thirst of knowledge. Like I want to learn. I am like the eternal learner. I know I will be 95 years old and still learning something new.
Yeah.
because there's so much to learn. And that's the exciting part of life, of just like, oh my God, what do you want to, like AI right now, like all this stuff with AI. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to learn about AI. What is this all about? Or like what you were saying with podcasting, like, so I was teaching branding. Then I started teaching business strategy because other women started asking me, like, what are you doing? How are you generating the money? And so I taught business strategy. But then what I saw that they were struggling was hitting money barriers. And that's when I started focusing on money mindset. I was like, let me heal my relationship with money. What is my relationship with money? And so I started surrounding myself with teachers, looking for that knowledge, looking into the financial world, understanding investments in crypto, investments in the stock market. My next thing is real estate, but I don't have the time. Like it's the same. It's like, I wish I had more time to learn all these things. Anyway, that's been the focus with money mindset, with business, it was great. I hit the 6-figure revenue. The last thing I did last year, I launched a program, Money Magic Miracles. And the first cohort, we had 25 women or 28 women. And in 60 days, I helped them shift their mindset from not enough, Black mentality, there's never enough money, I don't have enough money, to start seeing the abundance in the world. And in 60 days, they collectively manifested over $1.2 million.
Wow.
And that's of what we could track. And so that's where my curiosity and the passion, it's like, I want to learn about that. And now I just launched the podcast this year and everything's in alignment and the rankings are going high and all these different things, and I'm like, oh my God, we need to support more women in the podcasting world. So I know now I'm going to be infusing the business and the marketing and everything with that kind of teaching, because I do believe that we all learn and we have this knowledge, but we can always pass it down to other people that are a couple steps behind us. And I know that I don't have all the knowledge because I'm just new. I'm new in the podcasting world. I'm very excited. I do my research. I'm wanting to learn all these things. I jump into all these courses. But I know there's so many people that are so way ahead that I could learn from them. But then the information that I gather that I can curate, I want to pass down to other people that are also interested. So that is a very interesting topic. And I think we could do a whole podcast on that, on like women chasing degrees, certifications, and how much is it because you're looking for validation and, acknowledgements and praise, which I've been there, but it has shifted for a while. Like that's no longer, I think that was earlier in my career. It's not there anymore. It really is truly just this thirst for knowledge and curiosity and just soaking up life. We only have a certain amount of time here.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, like that's like the most infectious part of your personality, honestly. Is that thirst for knowledge and just wanting to learn it all and like curiosity for curiosity's sake. So I love that you're just like fully leaned into that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to dig in a little more on what you were sharing just about the money mindset stuff and how you got so curious about your relationship with money. And then, this group manifestation event that you hosted. What do you think is one of the key things that you've been able to heal as you've looked at your relationship with money?
Definitely the working hard for money. It's still work in progress. I will preface all of this that doing any type of money work, whether you're doing it on your own, whether you're working with Emily, whether you're working with me, whether you're working with whoever you're doing, it's an ongoing process. It's like forever. Money touches everything. And so this is just, we have to cultivate and improve this relationship with money ongoing. So the biggest things that I've struggled with have been that you have to work hard for money. That's been a belief that's been passed down to me and the family. The worthiness, like feel almost like you have to prove your worthiness, or deservingness to be loved or to deservingness of abundance. It's like I'm almost waiting for someone to give me the spa treatment or the massage, like permission to have that spa treatment. And I've worked with this for years, like I've just caught you catch yourself with oh, I really want to give myself a massage. Oh, but that's a little bit too expensive. Or I shouldn't, we could use maybe those $100 for something for my daughter, or like, so there's that deservingness piece instead of just saying, no, I'm running this business. My body needs treatment right now. This is what I need to gain strength, to hold the pillars for everyone else in the business and the family. I'm getting myself a massage because I deserve it and because I want to do that right now. So working on that. What else? And just being able to talk about money, Emily. You and I had spoken about this at one point of just, it's such a freaking taboo subject and it drives me nuts. What women, we love connecting. We love creating community. We love talking. Why not, instead of talking about gossip or the latest thing that the actor or actress has bought or is wearing, we start talking about money? How are you doing? What are you investing? Oh, you're investing in cryptos? Tell me about cryptos. What are cryptos? How are you doing with that? Or you've invested in the stock market? How is your financial advisor? What did you like about them? What didn't you like? Or I didn't know what a dividend was the first time I started. But, like the more we can talk about it, the more we can normalize it. So I think that's been one of the biggest gifts of that, following that curiosity and wanting to heal my own relation. It was just curiosity with, how do I relate with money? What's been told, like the unspoken language growing up in Spain was basically, a man's going to take care of you. A man's your financial plan. Don't worry. You don't need to learn about finances because you'll find the right husband. And if you don't find the husband, if you're not lucky enough to get married, don't worry. It'll be your dad or a brother that takes care, or an uncle. And so I kind of challenged that. I was like, really? Like I have the sense of like freedom, of independence, I'm like, yeah, my husband's been investing in the stock market. I hear him talking with my dad about investments and stocks and all these things. And I'm like, how can I learn about this? And there's proof women are better investors than men. So it's like, ladies, we need to get into this and start learning more about money and feel comfortable about it, and sharing those embarrassing moments. Like I said, when I first started, I lost a lot of money because I just abdicated my power, and I rolled over my 401k into an IRA with a guy in Citibank. And when I came back from Spain, I'd lost so much money. And that's what started my journey. My husband's like, why don't you talk to our financial advisor and ask him for a list of dividend stocks? And I was like, what is a dividend? I was so embarrassed. Like I didn't even know what that was. Yeah. And so at least I felt comfortable enough with him that he explained it to me. But then I felt empowered. I could go through that list and make that choice and tell the financial advisor. And then I saw my money growing without doing anything. I was like, damn, I might be a little bit good at this. Let me learn more about stock investments. Let me sign up to this newsletter. Let me sign up to this other subscription. So none of us are born knowing about money. So we really want to just remind ourselves as women that we can learn this stuff. And even for men, it sucks that this has been put on men too, like that they're the ones that know better than women, because there's men out there that can't live up to that or might not know that. So
they don't know either sometimes. And then they feel like they're not a man because their whole masculinity and providership is on the line.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, where is one place where money still feels hard?
Where money feels hard. I think it shows up in that you have to work hard for money. I really have to check in with that sometimes. Like I might be in the middle of a launch or something and you self-sabotage. And how do I self-sabotage? I complicate things. Or I'm like, oh no, let's make, I don't sit down and make it complicated. It's your subconscious that's running it. And so suddenly you look at it and you're like, why am I making this so much harder? Like the money can come in so much easier. So definitely you have to work hard for money. Like I said, that's still an ongoing the good thing is I catch myself faster and faster. Whereas before you wouldn't. And what else? sometimes with the deservingness too. And I have a wonderful husband that is just so reminding of that, because I can be a little bit thrifty with myself or stingy. Like I'll give to others, but when it comes to myself, it's like, no, I don't want to pay whatever it is. Oh, I'll give you an example with the car. Like at one point, my husband's like, could care less what car I'm driving. I'm not a car person. Like I could put money into other things, like investing in my education. I will mortgage my home if I have to, like that. Yeah. But he's like, you should drive a nicer car. You're going to, this was a couple years ago, like the speaking engagements, and, you should ask a friend of ours that was selling her Mercedes. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm not driving a Mercedes, like that is so like flashy. But I think underneath it was just I don't want to attract attention. Yeah. I don't know if I feel deserving enough of that. And is it worth spending the money on that when he's wanting to gift me that? You know what I mean? So I think there's still a little bit of deservingness. And then we did get that Mercedes, just so you know, and I love driving that car, and I love the feeling that it brings me. So it's funny how
I love that
it shows up in certain ways. But like I said, you just catch yourself either a little bit later or in the moment, I think those are the two biggest ones for me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. All right. Before we wrap up, since your company is called The Courage to Be Happy, tell me, like, what is your mission with that, and what does it mean to you?
Well, I'll just preface, the courage to be happy is what we had, and we've shifted it into the courage to be in just these last couple months. So the podcast is under the courage to be. We're in transition with the website. The website is still the courage to be happy, but it started with the courage to be happy because that optimism, that passion that you're sensing, like, I feel like our life is very short. And sometimes we take that for granted. And that's how the courage to be happy started. It really, the logo I had back when I was running that was based off an illustration that I do. It was like these stick figure drawings that I do when I go to therapy, because I lost a friend suddenly back in 2009 or 10. And when I launched the business, I launched it on her birthday, and it was one of the stick figures of like our inner child, like it represented the inner child. And like, just that, like, life is too short. You want to try and feel that happiness as much as you can. It's a choice. And how can you achieve happiness? Now that it's shifted, I feel like we've outgrown it a little bit. And it doesn't encompass just happiness. That's why I shorten it to the courage to be, because it's the courage to be what to you, to each person, it's something different. To me, I almost named it I wanted to maybe at one point I thought, should I transition it to the courage to be free? Because freedom really resonates with me in the inside. But I'm like, no, that's for me. Right. What is it for everyone else? For Emily, I'd ask you the question, it's the courage to what? Because it requires courage to live a life as a human on this planet.
Yeah.
But what kind of courage is it? The courage to be healthy, the courage to be wealthy, the courage to be happy, the courage to be free, the courage, fill in the blank.
Right.
And so the mission is to just connect people with what are those dreams and goals and desires that you had, because they're still there in your heart. But maybe you abandon them because you got to a certain age, to a certain routine in your life, to a certain way of doing things and being. But can you reconnect to that dream and that desire that you have? Because if you can, and you tap into that courage, you are going to be rewarded on the other side.
I love that so much. Okay. Where can people find you? Anyone who's wanting to drum up some more courage, the courage to be, where can they connect with you, Tania?
Thank you, Emily, for bringing that up. The first place is my podcast. It's called The Courage to Be. So just search and you'll see my face around there. It's, I think, a black and white with bluish tint circle. But I also want to give the listeners a free guide that I have that's called Amplify Our Abundance. And if you want to access resources, practices to help you manifest those dreams, those desires that we were just talking about, you can find these practices. And a lot of them are from like what I had in with this group, these cohorts that I run for Money Magic Miracles. You can find that at amplifyourabundance.com. And it really is the perfect place to start shifting that mindset from there's never enough to start seeing all the abundance that surrounds us, and especially in these economic times. So when you become aware and you can start attracting more abundance, because where our energy, where our attention goes, energy flows. So it's the perfect guide to get you started with. And again, it's amplifyourabundance.com, and we'll have it in the show notes if you want to.
Amazing. Tania, thank you so much for that gift. Thank you for being on the show. To everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
All right. I hope you loved that interview with Tania as much as I did. You can tag her on Instagram at thecouragetobe_. My top takeaways from this episode were: number one, to follow your passion and curiosity and just let that lead you to incredible things. Number two, when one opportunity burns to the ground, another one is just around the corner. Number three, put yourself in the room with people who inspire you and motivate you to dream bigger. Number four, keep those blinders on and just celebrate all of your financial milestones without comparing yourself to others. And on that note, number five, don't compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 12. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. The next episode that I've got coming up is going to be so incredible. I've got one of my IRL in real life best friends, Rochelle Serna, coming onto the show. She is an incredible entrepreneur, and she just happens to have spent a year inside of my high-level mastermind. So we're going to be jamming just on how fast dreams can come true and the magic of putting yourself in powerful spaces. The interview is absolutely incredible, and you don't want to miss it. If you've been enjoying the show, please like, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's show. Before you go, I have something fun to share. Now, when you leave a review of the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, take a quick screenshot and send it to hi@emilywilcox.com. You'll be entered into a drawing to win a free one-on-one Voxer coaching day with me, and you help the show reach more new listeners. Such a win-win. I also invite you to follow me on Instagram at mmakesmoney and to jump into my free Telegram community, The Money Club, which is linked in the show notes. Until next time, I'm sending you all the magic money vibes.